Hello and welcome to the Student Support Portal. The portal is an online community of students, educational professionals and parents of students with a disability who want to keep up to date with the latest developments in assistive technology. Today we are interviewing Ed McCann from Medincle. Ed, welcome to the portal.
Hey, thank you very much.
So can you tell us a bit of background on yourself?
So I've been a trainer for the past 8 years. So I was an AT trainer. I worked for one ATSP for about a year and a half, then went to university. And then when I came out of university, went and worked for another ATSP for 7 years. And then happened to get in touch with Rich. Because of where I work, generally when I was training, I would be training a lot at universities that had medical students and sports science students and that sort of thing. So I found the sort of issues that they were having more and more. So I got in touch with Rich and went down, met with him, and now here I am at Medincle. So I sort of my background has always been on the DSA side of things. I think it's quite good as well. Having that knowledge of sort of what the end user needs and what they use from training students constantly. So I think that gives me a little bit of a better background on this side of things.
Great, and tell us a little bit about Medincle. It's an unusual name. It tells about the company and the products that they offer.
So Medincle we focus on a piece of software that will augment all of the students' favorite AT software. So at the moment we have a number of products. So we have Medincle Spellchecker, Medincle Plus, but they tend not to be as popular in the medical and the DSA side of things. The DSA side, it's generally Medincle AT Complete. That's the one that was built specifically around augmenting all of the other AT software. And what it does is, so saying for students using their word processor, or they're using a mind mapping tool, or they're using voice dictation software, all of those products don't understand all of their medical and legal and soon ecological jargon. So our piece of software will help them spell check just like they normally would. So this is a piece of software that works in the background. There's nothing the student has to open. There's no toolbars. There's no training required. So it's really good for students who feel comfortable with computers, but also students that maybe don't feel as comfortable with computers. It really does encompass also all sorts of different courses like massage therapy, sports science, students that maybe weren't expecting to have to learn all of the complex jargon that they'll need on their courses. So usually if they spelt a word wrong, for instance, and they right-clicked on it in whatever piece of software it was, it wouldn't give them any suggestions. But with Medincle augmenting all of that software, they'll now have those suggestions. It also means because the software that they're using, whether it be their AT software or their browser or their word processor, usually if they wrote out a document, and even if they'd spell all of their medical or legal jargon correctly, they would have red underlines, just a sea of red underlines underneath everything. So Medincle are trying to fix that so that so the students only see red lines under things that they are actually spelt incorrectly. We're 100% British, so we use the BNF, the British National Formulae, and we update as that updates every 6 months, and we'll push those updates out to everybody as well. So our licenses are perpetual, so they last forever, and a student, because obviously there's always new medical technology being created that gets added into the BNF. We push that out to every student. So even if a student had our software 4 years ago or yesterday, they'll always have the most recent and up-to-date versions of our software. It's something that we like because then students can not only use it whilst they're at university, but then off into their professional life as well. Because it's a lifelong license, they can use it forever. So that's something we pride ourselves on, is making sure students aren't kneecapped when they go into their professional lives. They can use it forever.
Excellent. And what's your role in the business, and what would you do day to day?
So I've been brought on as the business development manager. So I focus solely within the DSA side. I will go out and do presentations and CPD days. and do webinars and things like that. So I focus, my job is specifically on the DSA side of things, but also helping to come up with new ideas for new products. So at the moment we're focusing on bringing out, especially now that we're all working from home, we've got a little bit more time on the development side of things. So we're bringing out an eco edition, which will focus on students doing land management courses, ecology, botany, so agricultural unis. Like where I live quite rurally. So there's a lot of agricultural colleges. There's also a lot of veterinary colleges and things like that around. And I found that that was one of the main problems that students would face on that side of things, because there are all sorts of Latin terms for plants and things like that. There always was a bit of crossover with Medincle. So on the cell biology side of things of our software, there was always a little bit of crossover like that. But yeah, so now we're coming out with our ecology version, which should be out in the next 2 weeks or so, which I'm pretty happy about, because personally, I have a bit of a passion for botany. Like if I went back to university tomorrow and could only study one thing, it would be botany. I did film studies, but yeah, botany would be the thing that I went back to do. So as soon as I came in, I was like, hey, look, there's a market for this. There's a students struggle with this on this side of things when it comes to zoology and so on. So that's our next thing, is helping students who are doing those kinds of courses to get the same benefits that medical students and law students are already getting from Medincle.
Great. And you mentioned DSA, the Disabled Students Allowance. Who would your typical client be? Who is it that you're hoping that will buy the software?
So our current client base, obviously we have a couple of different products. So we are soon going to be just supplying Medincle AT Complete when it comes to the DSA. So at the moment we do also do Medincle Spellchecker and Medincle Plus, but we are going to be taking those off because Medincle AT Complete is the one that the DSA side specifically use, so that it augments all of their assistive technology, whether it be dictation software, mind mapping, note-taking software, and so on. Our main client at the moment, depending on which version, so we have our Medincle AT Complete, which is our medical one. So that will cover students doing obviously nursing, any sort of medical course, but also sports science, massage therapy, cell biology, all sorts of different courses like that. And then our law edition, which we brought out our legal edition we brought out about 6 months ago. So that includes the medical vocabulary and then is built on, it has our legal vocabulary as well. So that's for law students, but also students doing politics and policing will need all of that complex jargon. And then our eco edition, which will come out in a couple of weeks, that will focus on students at agricultural. He's doing all sorts of agricultural stuff. So like I said, botany and the like. And that one will include all of our vocabulary. So that will have the medical vocabulary to cover the cell biology side of things, our legal vocabulary, and then our ecological vocabulary. So that will be our largest piece of software when it comes out. The main reason we're including all of them, including the legal edition in our eco edition, is just in case there's a student that is studying, for example, like environmental law. So if they are studying environmental law, they will need the whole package. So that will be, and they'll all be the same price as well. So our Medincle AT Complete Legal Edition and Medincle AT Complete Eco Edition will all be the same price.
Okay, and for our students who are perhaps at secondary school and will use maybe Microsoft Word or Google Docs, does Medincle integrate with all the different platforms and word processors?
Yes, so we work on both Windows and Mac, and we work in Word, in the whole Office 365 suite. So we'll work in Word and PowerPoint and Excel and Publisher and the like. The same on Mac. We're working, because even I'm a Mac user, but I'll use Windows, I'll use Word and PowerPoint and stuff. So it will work on Mac that way too. But also, if students like to use Pages and Keynote, like the iWork suite on Mac that comes free with Mac, it works in there. In fact, on the Mac side of things, we integrate with the vocabulary on the Mac. So any piece of software that the student downloads on their Mac that uses the Apple vocabulary will be using Medincle. So anything that they download from the App Store or any third-party applications, including all of their AT software, it will work everywhere system-wide on the Mac. On the Windows side of things, yeah, we plug into obviously all the basic software. We also plug into browsers as well, so Chrome, Firefox, Edge, on Mac, Safari, so that if students are contributing to shared projects online, or they're using Google Docs online, or if they're using Office 365 online, or using Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas or whatever it is that they use, or sending emails, they'll be able to use the benefits, get the benefits of Medincle on there. And then, of course, one of our main selling points is the fact that we work with all of the most popular AT pieces of software. So we recently, in our newest release, version 4.0, we now work in the built-in Windows dictation. So we've always worked with Dragon, so that students can use all of their complex lexicon whilst dictating with Dragon, which is a huge thing, because as a trainer, Dragon was always one of my favorite pieces of software to teach a student. I would always teach it. I don't work for Dragon, but it was always one of the first things I would teach the students, because it would always wow them. And the worst thing that you would see is where you go, how are you getting on with Dragon? They say, yeah, I like it, but it doesn't understand when I say this drug or this injury or this medical technology, and I have to go back and rechange it. So we've always plugged into an augmented Dragon, but now we work also in the built-in dictation software in Windows. And we'll have a fix for that on the Mac side as well. But if a student doesn't have Dragon on their Windows computer, they can still use Medincle and all of their medical, legal, or ecological jargon whilst using the built-in Windows dictation. But also a couple of new things as well in version 4.0. We've always plugged into MindView and Inspiration, but we augment Mind Manager and MindGenius. And then, of course, all of the note-taking software that students love, so Sonosynth, Audio Note Taker and Glean, and NTE Hub. Yeah, we really do. We are wide-ranging in those terms.
Okay, and it sounds as if the company is doing a lot of development work at the moment. Do you know what's coming up next? Are there new products coming out or new lines?
Yes, so our next thing is obviously, the next thing that will be out is our eco version, and that'll be out in a couple of weeks, as I've mentioned before. The next things that we're looking at going into, so the next things that we're planning on developing is Android and iOS versions. So we've just come out with an app, which should be completed pretty soon. It is already on the App Store. So we had a piece of software that came out, and this is all included in Medincle AT Complete. So this isn't a separate product that we sell. We came out with Medincle Pronounce. So students could download a piece of software on their computer. They could, if they were struggling to pronounce terminology, so we got asked a lot by assessors, like, hey, we have a lot of students that struggle to pronounce all of this complex jargon. If they have Dragon, if they can't pronounce it, they're still going to struggle. So we came out with Medincle AT Complete and we came out with Medincle Pronounce, and students really liked it because it's just a simple box that they can open up. They can either copy something out of their journal article, paste it into Medincle Pronounce, and click play, and it will play it back for them with a human's voice. So rather than a computerized voice, they know for a fact that it's being pronounced correctly because it's a human's voice. And that was really popular. So what we then decided to do was bring out or turn that into an app, so students can have it on the go. So at the moment it is on both Apple Store and the Play Store on Android. So students can download it and they just put their Medincle AT Complete serial number in, and they'll have access to that. And the app will focus on, once the student types the word that they're looking for in, they can, if they spell it incorrectly, it will come up underneath as like the did you mean, kind of like with Google, did you mean these? Or if as they start to type it, it will come up with suggestions underneath. And then once they choose the correct one, they'll get the option of they'll see a definition of that, and then if they click onto the next tab, they'll be able to play it back with a human's voice. Just gives students a little bit more confidence when they're on placement, and maybe if they don't feel as comfortable talking with their colleagues during placement, or even if they're in presentations or they're doing vivas and things like that. So and that's all included in Medincle AT Complete. So we pride ourselves on being evergreen, so all students who have our software can always update to the newest version free of charge forever. So they'll always have the most up-to-date vocabularies, but also if a student got given our software 4 years ago and we come out with this app, they'll still have access to this app. So all the new products that we add into Medincle AT Complete will be available for everybody. It doesn't matter when you got it. But yeah, our next thing that we're really focusing on is getting onto iPads and tablets. So we know a lot of students are now starting to use iPads and tablets when they're taking notes during lectures, and we want students to be able to get the same benefit they can from Medincle on their desktop on their tablets too. So that's the next thing that we're looking at, and also building our software for Chrome OS. So the operating system that Chromebooks use. So we're having more and more students now using Chromebooks. I think it's because of the fact that they are a lot cheaper. I don't know, and I think that's why a lot of companies have gone down the route of making their software available on browsers so that they can get past that, because there's no way to download software on Chrome OS. So that's our next thing, is making sure that students who do have Chromebooks are still getting all the benefits of Medincle on there. So those are the things that we've got lined up at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds like you're busy. If students and parents and special needs teachers watching this, how can they get a copy of the software? What's your recommendation for how they could go about to purchase that?
So if obviously the DSA is great, so if they go through the DSA, get assessed, they can get the software that way, of course. If they would like a private license and just want to buy it straight from us, they can do that on our website. So just medincle.com, and they can get our software from there. So we have at the moment on medincle.com, we have the Medincle spellchecker, which just works in Word. And then we have Medincle Plus, which will work in Word and Dragon. And then we have Medincle AT Complete, which is our largest suite, which works everywhere. So browsers and all of the students' favorite AT software and everywhere else. So Medincle AT Complete is sort of like the full package. But yeah, if they go to our website, medincle.com, up at the top, there'll be a button that says shop. And then they'll be able to purchase our software through there. There's also as well, if people are wondering which courses Medincle will be useful for, right down at the bottom of our website, they can click on a button that just says which courses, and there's a whole list of courses on there that will be using medical and legal jargon, and we will be then updating that as well once the ecological, once our eco version is out, because that will encompass loads more courses as well.
Great. Ed, thank you for joining us. There is a Medincle group on the portal, so if anybody wants more information, please head over there and you can get in touch with Ed and his team on the portal. Thank you. This interview was part of our Publishers and Manufacturers series of interviews. If you'd like more information on the products that were discussed in the interview, please go to the portal Assistive Technology section and start a conversation. Thanks for watching.